Okay, guys, so this is a bedside chat for chemo number one. Newbie goes to chemo. And I wanted to share some things on this channel to help people that will come behind me and they can learn based on the subject matter. So, um, this is going to be entitled Newbie Does Chemo Rolling with the Punches. So I arrived this morning. I had been educated a little bit on the drugs that I was going to be getting, and I was told I was going to get labs and then see the doctor and then get the chemo. So I was ready for that. I'd had some wonderful people, friends that had given me heads up what parking garage to park at and, um, things like that. I was also told about a hat that I could wear that you could buy. It didn't covered by insurance, but you can buy it, and it protects your hair follicles. It doesn't guarantee your hair won't fall out in 7 to 14 days, or that's if you're on Taxol. I don't know the time frame for different chemos, but for Taxol and Taxotere, um, it falls out in that range, average 11 days. But the cold cap protects the hair follicles so that it will grow back, hopefully faster or better. And in some cases, it's not all patients, but some patients, their hair follicles die and their hair doesn't come back in that area. So the cap is to protect that. Anyway, so we show up. My really good friend, my bestie Kelly, went with me today, and we got there. We parked in the garage, and we went on up, and we were trying to find exactly where to go. So, learning lesson number one: just because you've been to your doctor doesn't mean you know how to go to the infusion center. So, some places the doctor's office and the infusion center is the same. Some it's not. So you might want to check. In my case, my doctor's office was on the 4th floor and the infusion center was on the 3rd floor. So anyway, eventually I found where I needed to be. I checked in. They called me to the finance office. That's all a big part of newbie 101 chemo, is that your insurance is going to have a say in what happens. And they aren't real clear with your deductibles and your maximum out of pocket. So it can be a little dicey there about what you have to pay. Just remember to keep up with all your expenses. So when you've met your maximum out of pocket and they keep trying to charge you money, then you can have those records to show them. And most of the time, the finance person, if they can see that you have paid more than your maximum out of pocket, they will work with you on not forcing you to pay. But if you can't show that, then they're going to ask you to pay, and you don't want to get rescheduled. So be prepared for that. So after you do that, if there's any question on that, then you will go, or in this case, to get labs. Doctors draw labs to make sure that you're cleared to do your chemo. So I got called in, and rolling with the punches, I have hard to stick veins. So my veins like to play hide and seek, and they like to roll when you try to poke at them. I learned that already because I'm diabetic, and they were checking my blood for that and struggling. So if you are a hard to stick patient, make sure that you ask for somebody experienced to do your stick. Nothing against newbies, but double newbie is probably not the best approach. I failed to do that, so I got called, and it happened to be a lady that had just started there. She didn't even know my doctor. And when I told her that I had rolling veins, just to give her a heads up, she got very anxious and panicky. And so she tried to stick me and started doing the digging thing and all that, and it didn't work, and she came out. So I asked her, could I use my port to do the, sorry, don't mean, this is not X-rated. So I asked her, could we use my port? And she said, yes, but my nurse would have to do it. So she let me out because I knew she wasn't going to be able to stick me. That's important if you are hard to stick. If somebody starts trying to dig and they're anxious, don't keep pressing your luck. Just better to get out of it and get somebody else to do it. So I went on to my nurse to check in. And then at the check-in desk, I said, how is the how are we running? Are we behind? Is the nurse available? Because I need to still get my labs drawn, and I know the doctor is not going to see me and clear me for the chemo without seeing the labs. And she said, well, we're running behind. So I said, well, do you know a phlebotomist out there that's really experienced that could get my blood in the arm? Because I'm happy to do that. It's just that I showed her where the other girl had already wrapped me up and said she wasn't able to. So sure enough, she did. She went and found a guy named Carlos, great guy. He said, no problem. He had me done in 2 minutes. So lesson number 2, if you are hard to stick or otherwise nervous as a newbie, if you're nervous as a newbie to chemo, you might want to get an experienced phlebotomist if they are requiring labs to clear you, because you don't need any extra stress. So that's it. So after that, got called into the nurse and doctor. She looked at my labs. We were good. So I have heard that if your labs are not good for some reason, they will delay your treatment. So important to follow the rules. Try not to be around people that are sick. Try to do things, eat right, get plenty of sleep, and drink plenty of water and hydrate. Those are the things that I've been told by my doctor. And exercise 30 minutes a day, walking or whatever you can do, but do some kind of moderate. They don't want high intensity for all you aerobics trainers and people like that out there. Maybe that would be normal moderate for you, but 30 minutes a day or 3 hours a week is what my doctor advised. And I'm very lucky. I have one of the top triple negative breast cancer doctors in the world that I've been fortunate enough to have, Dr. Joyce O'Shaughnessy, amazing doctor. So back to the first chemo 101 experience. So got all cleared through the doctor. I did talk to her about my insurance because my insurance denied her original treatment plan, and that upset me because I believe my doctor is the best, and whatever she wants to do I think is the best. The insurance wanted to push back and use some older regimen that they said that would work, basically. So I told my doctor that if I needed to appeal and fight, that I believed in her and I wanted to support her, and I had let my insurance company know that as well. So she and I came up with a plan. She felt like this to start with won't be any harm, and she wanted to go ahead and get me started and didn't want any more than we'd already delayed for a few weeks my start because of the insurance rejection. She wanted to go ahead and get me started, and I agreed. And she has opportunity in the process that if it's not working to her satisfaction, she can then appeal it and we can fix and change. So we agreed to that. Moving on, rolling with that punch, insurance punch. But just lesson learned number 3, it's difficult, and I understand from the nurse and doctor, this happens a lot. Insurance companies want to push back. Just know that you have a right to push back also and appeal. So you have to weigh that again and balance that with getting treated. But there is a process in place. And I have spoken with my insurance company, a case manager, and she is working to try to help me as well. Okay, so we got done with that. We found out where the infusion center was. So, because we didn't figure that out ahead of time, I didn't figure that out ahead of time. And so we left there and went to the infusion center. And I got in there, and that's when the craziness started a little bit. That being said, I want to tell you one other thing. When I first was getting the lady to the very first phlebotomist that was struggling with sticking me, there was a cancer patient sitting out in the area waiting to be called, and she overheard our conversation, and I think she could tell I was struggling with the port or asking about the port and whether we could use that to draw the blood. And she jumped up and said, listen, it's better to draw it from your arm than from the port. At least that's what most people do. And she said, there's a lot of, I've been doing this a long time, just trying to help. And I said, hey, that's great. I appreciate your input. And I said, well, I got you. What advice do you give me? Because it's my first time to do this. And she said, my advice to you is be prepared for things to surprise you and things that happen that are unexpected. I said, okay, I'll take that note. So note to self. So sure enough, this came to pass. I got into the infusion area, and I sat down in their little chair. They let me pick which chair I wanted to sit in. So I sat by one by the window. And I do think it's important, if you're what type of personality you are, if you like nature or views, you want privacy, try to sit in the chair that will give you those things. If you're more social and you want to be with people to talk, and you didn't bring your own people to talk, then sit in a chair that's got a lot of people that are going to sit down by you. So think about those things. So I sat down, and I sat by the window because I like a view. And I like to talk, but I'm one of those people that could sit there the whole time and not talk. And Kelly, my friend, had gone on to work. She was going to come back to get me after that. So I was fine. I had my books, and I had them on a little stuff, unpacked my little bag. And I do want to point out, you need to have a packed bag, socks, blanket, because you can get cold, clothes that you can easy access to your port. Like I had a button down shirt, and I had that on actually, but I brought extra. And then I had, the nasal spray to wet my nose, and my eye drops to wet my eyes. Biotine was recommended to keep my mouth from getting dry because of the chemo. And I had one of those neck pillows in case the chair was uncomfortable so I could sleep. And I had, like I said, a blanket and stuff to read. So, make a long story short, I had a bag. So, pack things that you think you might need at the cancer center. Now, I will tell you, my cancer center, infusion center, had little warm blankets that they had in a warmer that they brought me. And they brought me ice chips to put in my mouth. So that's good. You can request those things. And so I was just getting all nestled. I had to unpack like I moving in. And I had my little blankets all fixed. And I put my little socks on my feet because I'd walked in sandals. So I was all ready. And I leaned back in my reclining chair and waited for her to show up. And she came in and she said, "Is that a new port that you have?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And she said, "Has it ever been tapped before?" And I said, "No, it hasn't." So her eyes got a little bit big. And so she said, "Well, don't worry about it." I said, "And it's been placed for 2 weeks because I was supposed to start my chemo 2 weeks ago. But because of insurance, it was delayed. So I'm wondering if it needs flushing, like with some heparin or saline or something. I don't know. I don't know anything about ports." And she said, "I will check. And I've got a couple very experienced nurses here that are very familiar, and we'll get this figured out." So I said, "Great." Because at first I was like, uh-oh, round 2 from the arm stick. Roll with the punches, though, folks. She said, "Don't worry about it. She has people there. They figured it out. Just roll with it. Keep breathing, and don't let little things knock you around." So, the most interesting part of this story is yet to be told. Because I was really rolling with the punches at this point. So she came, she accessed the port, flushed it out. And I have read, you would want to talk to your doctors, but, there is a frequency where those things need to be flushed, and so you would need to check on that. If you're not getting active chemo regularly, like weekly or bi-weekly or you need to make sure you talk to your doctor about that. So she was giving me some pre-meds before the chemo, and that was all going well after she flushed the port and accessed it, and it didn't hurt that bad. I mean, you felt it. It was like a prick, like a bee sting or something, but it was bam, it was good. I'm very lucky. My doctor, Lucy Wallace, did an excellent job on my port. I mean, it was placed properly. No infection or any complications, and I've heard a lot of people have had those, so I feel very fortunate and thankful to her. And not only that, but she did a nice job of putting it in where it wasn't major scars on my. I've seen people with ports that they just sliced them and big old scars and stuff. So that's something you want to consider when you're picking your surgeon. Pick a good one that cares about you. And so we're rocking and rolling. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna get this thing. I'm all laid back. I got my little warm stuff. I got my phone. I got my books. I got music. I'm good. Little earphones. So then she comes to me, and by the way, they start to put the cap on me. Okay. Now I was prepared for this cap idea, but I had no idea this thing fits like a swimmer's cap. It's tight like that, but it's heavier, right? There's more to it than a swimmer's cap, but it's that kind of fit. And man, I have a little peanut head, as my friend Kelly likes to say. So I have a tiny head, so it doesn't look tiny on this, but it is. And so put the small, apparently she had to stuff some like paper towels and stuff in it to make it fit snug, right? So she put the paper towels here, I guess that's why. I wasn't paying attention while she was doing it, so I didn't know. But all I know is she turned that thing on, and wow, that was cold. Very, very cold. Coldest thing I've ever felt in my life. So then she kind of checked it off. She's the one that brought me warm blankets. Lovely, lovely lady that works for the cap company, Paxson, I believe. Her name is Shauna. Great lady. Anyway, she had me all hooked up, and she said, just don't worry, it will get less intense. Your body will adjust, and it'll be less intense, and it's worth it. So I said, okay. So she helped, visited with me for a while. Was very kind, very, very caring, and then she went on her way. So the cap is uncomfortable. For me it was anyway, but it was bearable. But the problem is, over time it was starting to get not bearable. I didn't realize she had all the paper up in there, but it was starting to throb and hurt. Well, I thought that's just how it is. Newbie lesson number 4 or 5, wherever we're at. Don't assume things are normal just because you don't want to say anything to anybody. You can say something politely. I assumed, so I kept it quiet for like freaking 45 minutes. And it was hurting so bad I couldn't even open my eye over here. It was throbbing. And so I finally said to the nurse, I said, hey, is there anything I can do? Because my head is killing me and this over here is just throbbing so bad. And she goes, well, it shouldn't be like that. She goes, the cold and the uncomfortable part is normal, but not throbbing headache. She goes, the hat's probably too small. So I said, oh, okay. So she said, I'm going to try to see if I can find Shauna. So I said, great. So, but lesson was, I suffered for 45 minutes because I didn't want to say anything, thinking, okay, suck it up, sunshine. This is chemo. You can't be a wimp on day one. But the truth is that if there's something that can be done to make it less uncomfortable, we should do that. So don't suck it up, sunshine. Ask first, and only suck it up if they say suck it up. There's nothing we can do. So, okay. While I'm dealing with this little situation, the nurse comes to me and she said, did you want your ice for your hands and feet in a bucket or a bag, or are you ready for me to bring that? And I just looked at her and I'm like, what are you talking about? And she goes, oh, well, you need to put your hands and your feet in ice while you're getting Taxol because of the neuropathy issues, trying to protect the nerves. I said, wow, I didn't know that. So what did the lady tell me earlier? Some things are going to happen that maybe I wouldn't expect or know. So this was it, big time. So I said, okay, I guess the bucket. So she put some little bitty nitrate gloves on me, just plastic little ones like the surgeons wear. Purple though, was pretty. And then she brought this tub of ice and sticking my hands in it. And then the same thing for my feet. She put some little plastic blue things on top. She did let me keep my socks, but my hands just had those gloves. They didn't have anything. But my feet had my socks, and then the plastic over it stuck that in the ice. So now I am no longer leaned back in my recliner because I have to have my feet and hands in these ice buckets. So I'm leaned over, feet and hands in this ice. And it's a 1 hour and 45-minute infusion. Now don't forget, my little hat is already icing me out. So now I'm not rolling with the punches inside myself. I haven't said anything out loud, but inside I'm going, oh my heavens. Like, I don't know if I can do this. So then that's when I had to suck it up, sunshine, because I'm not going to let cancer win. We're not going to let cancer win. So I just sucked it up, but it was not comfortable. And I couldn't even lean back. Now, lesson number 5. There's always an option. Not always, but many times an option. So my friend Kelly Googled on Amazon. I'm not marketing them, by the way. Googled, I should have just said. And there's plenty of places I'm sure you can buy things. That's one option. But they have these gloves and these booties that you can freeze and put on that do the same kind of thing. Now, it's still going to be cold and uncomfortable, but I can lean back instead of sitting and putting my hands in buckets. So, check out, and if you get surprised by something, just roll with it. I mean, it's nobody's fault. I mean, this is so intense and so much, and you learn it so fast because one day you're living your regular life and the next day you have cancer. And so it takes over a lot of your life. And so it's a lot to absorb. And somewhere along the way, I didn't catch on that I had to put my hands, and I'm sure they wouldn't make me put my hands in this. It's probably an option, but it's a smart option that everybody does because you want to protect your nerves in your hands and your feet, especially if you're diabetic, but really everybody. So, but check it out, because now I'm ordering some gloves and booties are $39.99, and at least I will get to lean back in the chair. So, note to self. So I made it through the Taxol. I thought I was going to have my hands in the bucket and the bag for the entire day because I had 3 infusions all separately done. And I was like, geez. And then an hour and a half recovery time is the time where they start turning your head thing off and it slowly thaws out because it's all ice. It takes a while to thaw out, apparently. So I was so happy when I found out after the Taxol was infused an hour and 45 minutes that I didn't have to keep my hands and feet in the ice anymore because the carboplatin that I got and the Keytruda did not require it. So this chick was happy when I got to take my hands and feet out of that. So that the hat, I forgot about the uncomfortability of the head when I was dealing with that. So that goes to show you that no matter what you're going through, there's always something that could be worse. So enjoy. So I went back and put my little blankets on and I got my little music and I started enjoying myself as much as I could, given the fact that I was getting serious drugs infused. Now I did feel kind of tired and I felt the load and the intensity of everything that was going on, but I tried to breathe and tried to find happiness in chatting with my nurse briefly, and when Kelly came back, I visited with her. So if you like to have somebody to chat with, and it's good to bring somebody or sit by others. But I also enjoyed the time to myself in solitude and just listening to music, reading. I didn't read that much. I thought I'd read a lot, but I was a little overwhelmed and tired, and I just didn't want to invest that much. This time, maybe in the future I will. But anyway, so at the end, I went in the bathroom. It took a long time to thaw my hair out. So just know the lessons from all this is to try to ask more questions about the actual tactics and the things that are going to go on with the infusion of your chemo, whatever your specific chemo is. Try to find out if there's any physical things, not just, I was all about the drugs and the side effects and all the pharmacology because I'm a pharmacist. I guess I always lean that way anyway. But I decided to change that for the future. I'm going to try to ask more physical questions as well. So like locations and what other kind of mechanical things or what other things might happen that are not necessarily directly associated with the pharmacology of the drugs. So I think that's it for this session. I want to wish everybody thank you for watching this. I hope it helped you. I know everybody has shared things with me that I know. They've tried to help me, and I'm just trying to do the same back. And I decided to do it as I go along because I'm afraid I'll forget. Some of my friends have told me, I don't remember. I wish I knew. Or they, it's hard to talk to people a long time. Is this exhausting for the person listening and talking? So I thought, let me do this while I'm still on the dexamethasone, because they give you steroids for the first day, and they say after the steroids wear off, you crash. So I do want to close with, don't forget to rest, even if you feel like not resting, because it's fake. It's steroids. Steroids make you feel like you're better than you are. So don't forget to rest, hydrate, and follow whatever eating regimen your doctor has instructed you to follow. And try to stay away from sick people while you're neutropenic, or at least be careful about how you handle yourself around people. Doesn't mean you can't still love on people and tell them you love them, but just try to be smart about it. And most importantly, believe that you can beat cancer. Pray to God. If you believe in God or a higher being, lean on that strength. Pick doctors you believe in, and if you don't believe in your doctor, pick another doctor. And last but not least, believe in yourself and the way that you can roll with the punches. And so I'm going to end on a little joke. Back in the day, I bought Prince tickets for $20, but then I went to the concert and only partied like it was $19.99. Okay, if you're old enough to understand that joke, hopefully you found that funny. We can do this. We can beat cancer, and we can learn from each other, and I hope this was helpful to you. Have a good day.